right. Hey, everybody. Coach Doug here with another edition of Chats with Coach Doug. And I am so very honored to have probably someone who smiles more than me on a daily basis. This young woman on the other screen here is an absolute rock star in her own right. She's got some amazing stories. And it's kind of just proves that this golf industry is a very small world. So this woman, her name is Ashley Gravett. She is a Class A professional at Godrich Sunset Golf Club, which is a family-owned business. Her mom and dad own the golf course. She is the golf professional. And her husband, Kirk, who I taught at Niagara College, is actually the superintendent. So it's got some really small world stories going on here. Not to mention, she was also coached by my cousin Ann Carroll, who has a great ties to their family, all from up there in Godrich, which is a beautiful piece of Ontario. It's in the central area of Ontario. It's not Muskoka, and it's not in the southeast. It's a pretty cool place. It's right on Lake Huron, and it's a really amazing piece of this country. So without any further ado, Ashley Gravett, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Doug.
That's great. So you confessed to me you were a little nervous.
Yeah.
Why are you a little nervous?
Well, those of you who know me know I like to talk a lot, so I don't want to keep you here all night.
Well, that's okay, because you can do that. You know, talking is a good thing, right? And it's important because it keeps the conversations going. I'm having to accept all these friends requests from your family that are wanting to watch this. So I'm just accepting all those. So all right, now we can get back to the chat. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. Anyways, you're a popular person. It's okay. So give us a little background, okay? So we were just talking just before we got on air, and I mean, it's kind of cool that your parents own a golf course. Now, how long have they owned Godrich Sunset, and like how long have you been playing golf, and has it been in your blood since you were a baby? Like, help me understand a little bit more about how you ended up where you are today.
Okay, so my dad was actually the superintendent and general manager of Saugeen Golf Club for 21 years, and he got that job when I was 6 months old. So we moved to, we lived above the pro shop in the club storage from age of like 6 months to age 13. So I have been around a golf course my entire life, and then when I was 13, we bought the golf course. So this is our 18th season at Godrich Sunset.
That's amazing. So being at Saugeen, he would know a few young gentlemen that came through my PGM program, like Mike Blackburn, I think is someone from up there at Saugeen, right?
Yep, and Jeff Myatt.
Yes, exactly. There's a bunch of guys that came through Niagara as I was I taught golf swing fundamentals for 16 years in that program, and it was like the best class. I had the best attendance, even though it was a Friday. It was the day after pub, and it was for 4 hours. We got to play golf. We also taught golf swings. I mean, really honestly, I always, my opening line was, look, show up. You're never going to pass this. You're not going to fail this class. And it was always well attended. So I mean, it was always great. And I still have connections with. I probably taught over 400 kids in that time, but, anyways. So you guys have always been involved in and around golf. I mean, with Dad being superintendent GM, right? I mean, he's got his hands in the operation. Yep. And I mean, Godrich Sunset, it seems like the clientele base is a little bit of a little older clientele base, but you also have a good influx of juniors as well. Right?
Yeah, definitely. We have a decent junior program. It's been growing. Up until I stopped promoting the junior camps because we're not sure what's going to happen with them. I was like 3/4 sold out already by like middle of February. So it's been really great. But we are definitely a retiree area for sure.
Well, it's interesting. I've been talking with a lot of my colleagues and friends throughout this time about, what is it going to look like in terms of like camps and clinics. And I mean, realistically speaking, kids are not going to go back to school. I really don't believe that they're going to go. Like the elementary kids and stuff like that. So it's kind of like this. There's no other sport that's going to be available to these kids to go play except golf.
Absolutely.
And Susie Whaley said it when I had her on last Monday was, they've seen an influx of registrations. Like they've seen like in programming. So I think that, where your registration has stopped, once we figure out, okay, so what does social distancing look like for groups, right? Do we do 4, right? Does that mean you're going to have to find, more people to help you, right? And then what does that look like? How do you keep them separated? Do you do half days? Do you do, because the parents and stuff may not be full back at work, are you able to do a little bit differently? What are your thoughts on those?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've just kind of left it a little bit open until we get open. And then as soon as we get open, then that's when I'm going to start addressing things a little bit more, because it's just it changes every day. So until we get kind of a set plan of what the rules are and how many kids we're going to be allowed, like we serve lunch with ours. So knowing how many we can actually serve in our restaurant that fits 175 people. And if there's like 10 kids and they're spread out, like, is that going to be okay? That sort of thing. But like, every precaution is going to be taken. I really liked your suggestion of giving them a hula hoop from last week and just saying, like, look, this is your bubble. This is where you can go. Like, these are the danger zones. Like, I always like to kind of talk about the danger zones with the kids, because then it shows them like where if they've gone too close to somebody, or I'm like, danger. And then as soon as they hear that, they kind of back off. But I'm definitely going to have to change the way I teach camp. But I also have been doing a lot more station setups for them so that there's not as many kids standing in the same area as well. So they're pretty used to it. And I have a lot of kids that come back year to year, which is really good, because then they know what my standards are and what my rules are. And so if they know that I have to be stricter this year because of it, then I know that it'll be like they'll follow it, which is really good to know too.
Well, I think you're bringing up some good points. It's not so much about being so much stricter. I mean, I think it's being more like everybody has a better understanding of space, where
Yes.
kids in their environment typically don't have much spatial awareness when they're right. It's like, right, and it's really the spatial awareness unit is so bad. But that's why I mean, who knows? But I really think giving them some barriers and saying, hey, this is your hoop. This is your, this is your, your invisible shield, and you can't go outside of it. And it's for a reason, right? And, you started off, give them all a disinfectant wipe and all that stuff. And, it's going to be an interesting time. But throughout this time, I mean, you've been watching me do what I've been enjoying and doing these wonderful chats with Coach Doug. I've had some amazing people on, which has just been great. And again, yourself included. One of the things that I did, and I just spent the last 2 days watching Scott Couch do his 5.0 certification, and I just did it in the fall, but it was great to do a little refresher, plus learn some new information. What have you been doing to help Ashley's teaching and coaching and or personal development?
Well, I've actually been working on, I had a program that I ran in in January. I have a Fit for Golf program, and it's a 12-week program that it's all done on YouTube, and all you need is a booty band. And so what I did is I just mailed those out before I went to Turks, and I was able to run this program from Turks, which is amazing. And it's all done online. Every week they get an email. It's on Facebook. We do Facebook Lives. I give them a schedule of how many of the workout they're supposed to do. We really focus on, because I have an older clientele, a lot of my athletes, they struggle with balance, utilizing their lower body in their swing, low back pain. So I have like Tabata workouts to build their endurance. I have chair yoga, which I love because it dissociates the lower body from the upper body, which is perfect for the golf swing, and people can't cheat in it. Because in normal yoga, you can do your pose and then you're looking and then you're trying to cheat because you see somebody else do it. But in chair yoga, the chair restricts you so that you're not able to move your lower body without feeling it. And then we had a couple yoga classes as well, but it's all done from home, which was awesome. And it could travel because so many of my students are traveling for the winter for a couple weeks here or there. Well, they were able to take it with them and still get in their workouts. And we keep them to 10 to 15 minutes. So that way, if a student or a golfer has only 15 minutes, they can still get in a really good workout. Whereas if they want to play it twice, then they get their half-hour workout in. And so I've been working on actually putting together a program for fit during golf, because I find that I've got golfers now fit before golf in the off season, and then I have a preseason one that I'm running in March. But then there was nothing during the season. So I've been coming up with my best friend Jillian and I, we run our Fit for Golf program together, and she's in everything. She's a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, sports medicine, like injury prevention, meditation guru. So she has that aspect covered perfectly for me. So I give her all the exercises that I want based on the TPI that I took, and she puts them into which workouts work best, and does modifications, which is great because a lot of times we have modifications and then we film them together. She does the modification, I do the level and the advanced level. So then if you've done the videos a couple of times, then you're able to kind of up it the next week or whatever. And so our new program is to get people being able to play back-to-back days. So much of my students can't play back-to-back days. There's injury. So I've got a proper warm-up for them to do at home, and then a proper warm-up at the range. So whatever they have time for, we're going to focus on balance and posture in one of them, endurance, so that they're able to finish the round, and a little bit more of lower body kind of fine tuning. And then we're also going to do a cool down workout. So like a 15-minute of the proper exercises to, yep.
No, that's a, I mean, I'm just listening to everything going, man, this is like perfect. So what's your YouTube channel?
Well, it's private right now.
Right. But if they want to get a hold of you and they want this program, because I mean, here's the thing. You just described what every golfer needs who's over 60 and needs to get their body going when they want to play back-to-back games. And they often wonder, you know, hey, why does my game suck the second time? Or why does it not take me so long to get going, right? Yep. And especially now, I will tell you right now, that is a wonderful, insightful thing for you to be doing, because driving ranges are going to be compromised in terms of whether or not you're going to be able to use them when we get out of this thing. So giving them some exercises that they could do either before they get in their car, when they get out of the car, right before they go to the tee, and allows them to go out and play. That's brilliant. So kudos to you. That's a really, really good idea.
Well, and the other thing that we're going to do too is in my preseason and off-season program, I have all at-home drills. So I'm going to be doing actual drills on the putting green or whatever, and then giving them a proper warm-up to when they go to hit balls, that it only does take 10 minutes instead of like, and keeping it a little bit shorter because we're going to have shorter times for people at the range. And then we're also going to do 2 meditations, a meditation before you play a round of golf, and then a meditation after you've had a poor round of golf, and learning how to bounce back mentally from that and be able to kind of just let it go. So that's my fit.
Letting it go. Okay. Now you're talking about like how many golfers can't let it go, let alone let it go before they hit the next shot. Okay.
I know. That's the whole, I focus on box breathing with my students, and that seems to be a big thing that's helped.
Man, you're just a plethora of things, kid. Like, so where have you gathered all this information? I mean, you've got a wonderful person in your best friend in helping you do these fitness training and all that stuff, but who's your go-to? Who are you going to learn the breathing and the different things to strategize for your golfers?
Well, Jillian actually taught me the breathing thing, because when I went to go for my pro status the first time, I was working like 80, 90 hours a week. I was not playing enough golf. I was not mentally ready for it, and I obviously wasn't successful. And so she said, let's revisit this. Let's not focus on the amount that you're not playing golf, because you're already a good enough golfer. You know you can do it. You can play well. Let's focus on something different. And so we focused on the mental game and the letting it go and the breathing and stuff, and yoga actually. So that I was staying limber and that I was ready to go, and that even if I didn't hit balls for 5 days, I wasn't stiff or anything because of the yoga. And that played a huge role in me wanting to develop something for golfers to have, because it's so important that they're able to, like, well, golfers don't realize that at impact, you're putting 8 times your body weight on your spine, and they wonder why they have back pain, and nobody warms up. Like, I don't understand why golfers don't warm up. It's a sport, and you're athletes, and they don't warm up. And so I've really tried to educate people on the importance of warming up and and protecting and warming up your body and building up the strength to protect your low back and building a core and that sort of thing, so that they can play golf, because I want golfers to play longer. Like, I'm not a fast tracker. I'm like in it for the long haul. I want you playing for 20 plus years. I want you and enjoying it. And the better you play, the more you enjoy it, and the less pain you have. So.
Well, it's easy math when you do it that way, Ash. I mean, I think you're really, I think what you're doing is wonderful. And I think that the people who are members of God or Sunset are just, blessed to have you thinking about them in that way, because it's really an interesting point as a coach. You develop the relationships, right? I often say this, and I remember presenting to numerous classes and PGMs and stuff. I said, here's the thing. This is not the golf business. This is the relationship business. And because we're working in the relationship business, those relationships are so super important, and it shows that you care. I mean, for myself as a coach, reaching out to my kids, seeing how they're doing. When I often refer to them as my kids, people say, oh, your kids play golf. I said, no. I'm referring to my students, right? Because, but I have a sense of ownership with them, right? Because I've been around them, a lot of them, for maybe 5 to 7 years. I've watched them grow from being 7-year-olds to 14-year-olds. I mean, my one young girl, Vanessa Borovilos, who won 2 world championships, she just turned 14. And it's like to watch her go from this little tiny thing, 50 pounds to now she's, doubled her weight, and she's so much taller. She's 5'5", and she's just to watch her grow and develop and stuff. It's been an amazing journey, right? So yeah, but what you're doing with your clients and your students and your members is an amazing thing that, more people should do this. And it's kind of cool to listen to your voice, because you're extremely passionate about this. You can tell because it comes through in how you're expressing it. But listen, this is such a crazy time, and it's really cool that you get to work with your family. Your husband's the superintendent, so he's deemed essential, and he's been working on the golf course, right? Now, yes. I'm sure you deem him essential, right? Because he's your husband, but absolutely. I mean, absolutely, exactly. But what have you, Mom and Dad, and Kirk been doing in terms of like strategizing? When did you come back from, we'll get into Turks and Caicos in a second, but when did you come back from the Turks and then start thinking about what you and the family are going to do?
So we got home March 19th. We moved our flight up a few days because they ended up shutting the airport down on the Monday, I believe. So we got home on the Thursday. And so both my mom and dad drove down to the airport so that we could have our vehicle, and they just tossed us the keys, and we hadn't seen them in weeks, and it was like really hard. And like, but thankfully they were able to come visit us. So it wasn't like we hadn't seen them since November, but they tossed us the keys, and they're like, we'll be in touch. And we're like, okay. And so we kind of just settled in when we got home, and then we were like, okay, we can do this. And then Kirk went back to work and was cutting grass and trying to get me to cut grass. And
how'd that go?
Okay, years ago with our old superintendent, I had to cut greens because we were short, and the steering cable went on the greens mower in the middle of the green. And luckily I knew enough to lift the rails, but I was doing donuts, so I turned it off. And like, I was like, I'm not on another machine. No, thank you. Like, I'll do a push mower, but please don't put me on another machine. And so my dad a couple weeks ago was like, oh, we gotta get you on a tractor. I'm like, can I just I'll do the trimming, just if that's the case, because I drove a tractor last year and it was fine because there's no trees around, but there's a lot of trees at the Sunset, and I'm like, please don't make me do that. But we just kind of focused on trying to stay in touch with our membership and communicating with them, and doing a little bit different engagement than we're used to doing with them on Facebook that we maybe didn't have time. Like, I had all my Facebook ready when I left Turks until the end of June, and 90% of it had to be either deleted or pushed back, right, because of this. And so I had to start from scratch. And so we've just been working on that, and really just the safety, because we just want to educate people that golf is the safest thing that you can do right now, and that we're taking steps to ensure your safety and our safety.
Well, that's a great plan. I really think that taking it under consideration of what your members and to maintain their safety is really important. I mean, the social distancing thing is really hard at times. And I actually I canceled my March break trip on the day before we were supposed to leave. And I had 13 kids ready to go. And it was it was that whole week I was just full of anxiety. And it was the best thing I ever did was to cancel. Because, my cousin Ann, she went down, she was down there until the Wednesday. I mean, my friend Brad Ryle, he left the Wednesday before me. He got a flight home on the Saturday, and it was he said it was just crazy. When I heard Disney closed, then I said, okay, you know what? There's no way we're going, right? I mean, they closed Disney World.
I know.
I've been at Disney when there was a tropical storm. They don't close Disney World because there's a tropical storm. they close it because of a virus, then they're serious.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So here's an interesting point. You've had the chance to spend the last 5 winters in the Turks and Caicos. That is like amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm a little jealous. No, I'm a lot jealous. All right. That's pretty awesome. How did you and Kirk end up in the Turks and Caicos, and you're working in the Turks and Caicos? And how did that happen?
Okay, so my boss, Sean, his parents are members at our golf course. They live in London. They have a trailer in Bayfield, and they're members at our golf course. And when I turned pro, he said, "Hey, Ash, I've got a job opportunity for you this winter." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm serious." I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "So what do you think?" I'm like, "Well, I'm married now." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Kirk's the superintendent. He can work for Timmy Mack. He'll be happy about it. No problem." And I was like, "Okay." And then that was July. And then August, we hadn't heard anything in like 8 weeks or something. So I was like, "Okay, it is what it is." But then now I know that it's just island time. And he sent me an email, and he was like, "Hey, here's your information. Get this filled out and sent back to me ASAP, FedEx and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I've only ever lived away from home, like at school, which doesn't really count. Well, it did because it was Barrie, but so
still in Ontario.
Like,
you're still in Ontario. You're not in another country.
Yeah, right? Like I can still see my parents and my friends or whatever. And so then it was like, "Okay, when are we going?" And they're like, because we were on an emergency work permit visa where it's like, it was 6 weeks and then you have to leave the island and then come back for 6 weeks. So we had to, which is fine. And so my mom was like, "Well, let's book a trip in the middle of it because you have to leave anyway so that we can spend some time together or whatever." But like, because it's island, everything is done so delayed that we found out on the Wednesday and flew out on like the Friday. So, and then you're gone for like 3 months. So like so I'd be messaging my boss, Sean, I'm like, "Hey, are we coming?" And he's like, "We don't have everything yet." I'm like, "Okay." So then like you buy like 2 days of groceries and then you clean everything again. And then finally, but yeah, so it's been 5 winters and we love it. It's like a second home to us now. Like everybody there just treats us like family and we just love it. It's amazing.
So what are you doing when you're there?
Okay, so I work in the pro shop and I teach lessons, and then Kirk is Timmy Mack's assistant out on the course. So so Kirk loves it because Tim gives him all the jobs that he wants, and he cuts fairways and he has no worries, and there's automatic irrigation there, which we don't have here. And it's like Kirk's Mr. Social Butterfly out on the course because he actually has time to talk to people. And
sure.
So, and there's people from all over the world there.
And then I mentioned that you got a chance to meet and play with Brooke Rivers and her brother Kurt. Yeah. Kurt, they're both they kind of go between Brampton and Turks and Caicos during the year. She's a pretty very accomplished young woman, and I think she's got a bright future ahead of her.
Absolutely. She is so good, Doug. She hits it so far. Like at 13, like when I met her, I'm just like talking to her and it felt like I was talking to like an 18-year-old. Like she just is remarkable, and she just loves golf, and she is very open to suggestions. And one of the things that I worked on with her, not last year, but the year before, she's having a little bit of back problems. And so I told her that she needed to strengthen her glutes and to come to yoga with Kirk and I. And so she did, and she loved it. And then she started doing a little bit of running and a little bit more of like building up her strength that way. And now she doesn't have any back issues, which at 13 is not a good thing. Like you cannot have back problems at that age. So just kind of educating her on that and working on her like tournament prep for like her day out, because she's got coaches from all over. Like I don't need to look at her swing. Like she's
I think she goes to Martin Hall, doesn't she? I think she goes to Martin Hall in Florida. Yeah. She's I mean, you know what, it'll be interesting. You know, she's I think she's a member of our junior national team right now, isn't she? Or she was. I'm not sure. She was. Yeah. Yes.
But like she's just a great kid, and like just giving her like some pointers or some suggestions on stuff, like she takes everything in and she's like willing to learn and willing to ask questions, and she's a remarkable young lady.
All right. My favorite time of the conversation. It's my fast five.
Okay.
You don't know what's coming. You got to bring up some imagination. We'll see what happens and see how good you are at this, because I know you've listened to a few of them. So you're probably wondering, what is he going to pull out at me? And what is he going to ask? Exactly, right? You can't prep for this one, girl. This is no way you can prep for this one. Exactly. Okay. All right. Ready? Okay. You got to select one. Butter tarts, peach pie, chocolate mousse, gummy bears, jubes, or ice cream?
Ice cream.
What flavor?
I like, there's one called Granny's Cupboard.
Ooh, what's in that?
It has brownie, chocolate swirl, cookie dough, and like peanut butter.
Ooh, okay. We're talking, my favorite, I've mentioned it a couple times, Handel's Ice Cream in Ohio. This one is called Spouse Like a House. All right? Ooh. It's malted vanilla ice cream.
Yep.
It's got peanut butter ribbon and chocolate covered pretzels. Did you get that?
You had me at chocolate covered pretzels.
You guys, yes, she got that.
Yes, that was amazing.
Chocolate covered pretzels. A little delay on that one, but that was, your reaction was fantastic. All right, that's it. That's great.
Okay.
All right, what's your favorite course you've ever played? My internet connection sucks. What's your favorite golf course you've ever played? Oh. Ooh, cool.
Right. Jack's Point in New Zealand.
So who stars as, yes, cool, very cool. Who stars as the lead in the Ashley Gravett movie? Did you get that?
Somebody sporty.
Who stars in it?
Yep. Jessica Biel.
That's who I said. Perfect. That was great. I'm sorry that there's a little delay here. I think my internet is really buggy. So, yes. Who's in your ultimate foursome?
That's a good one. I would say Tiger Woods, Annika Sorenstein, and I'd have to say my husband because he loves Tiger Woods as much as I do.
Nice. That's a great choice. I like that. All right. All right. All right. Sushi in Hawaii, fish on the beach in the Turks, running with the bulls in Spain, skiing in Swiss Alps, wine in New Zealand, or playing golf at Royal Portrush?
Golf at Royal Port.
Very cool. Golfer through and through. She is. Yes, that's amazing. So who have you used to help you get better at teaching and coaching?
Who?
How do you get better?
I would say that a lot of it is like the feedback from my students, but also I like watching, I like Lindsay Knowlton from Iron Lady. I like the way she teaches. She's not as technical. That's more my spin on things. I also love talking with Anne Carroll about things. I would say probably focusing on like maybe fitness coaches and that sort of thing. Learning about that. My fitness coach, Caitlin Pimentel, she's a top 50 coach for Golf Digest. I learn a lot from her. I also really like Robert Yang. He's a nutritionist and like a fitness person, but I really like his hole-in-one book, for hole in nutrition book. It's excellent, and I really like focusing on that aspect of golf as well, the nutrition and wellness part of it, because even just educating golfers on the snacks that they should have during their round and when they should have them and how much it actually improves their game, they're like mind blown by that. So I recommended his book out a lot because it shows like what you should eat and drink before your round, during your round, and after your round, and what snacks you should bring and stuff. And that's been really eye-opening for a lot of my students.
That's great. I mean, you know what? I really think you're becoming a more rounded coach because you're grabbing from different areas, right? So it's really important, because I've often thought a good coach has one or two methods, but a great coach is someone who has a multitude of areas that they can grab and use things from. So it's amazing, the nutrition thing that you bring up. I remember having a conversation with a member, and she was like, I said, how was your round? And she goes, oh, I played great on the front nine. And then, you know, the back nine, I had 3 triples. And I was like, why? And it was a hot day. And she goes, well, I was just so overheated and all this stuff. And I said, well, okay, so what time did you tee off? She goes, 10:30. I said, what time did you eat in the morning? She goes, 7:30. I said, when did you have something else to eat? 12:30. I said, so you went 5 hours and didn't put anything in the engine. What'd you have at 7:30? Oh, a coffee and a bagel, right? It's their lack, and this is an adult, right? And I mean, it's bad enough getting kids to do this, but the adults have no idea. It's amazing if they knew how to regulate their blood sugar and or understand how to put good things in their engine before they got out on the course, and then how to keep it moving along. Their game would be so much better. Needless to say, she listened, she did it differently the next time, and she played amazing. So I really do compliment you for that. 100%.
It's remarkable. It's like, it is just so important, and the amount of water you should be drinking in a day, and how it affects you, and like how you should almost be drinking like double time on the water on the golf course. My husband says he plays better with beer, but but I'm always saying, like, you gotta get some water into you. Like, even with the juniors, like, they just don't want to drink water. And I was always, even when I played hockey, I was always drinking water. Like, they don't want to miss anything by taking a water break. And I'm like, well, you're not going to miss anything. Everybody's stopping.
It's really good, because you know what? Kids don't want to put water in. They don't think it tastes well and all that stuff, right? But you know, it's trying to get them to understand it. And the best thing is the look on their face when I say no Gatorade, and they go, what? And I go, and I tell them the story that Gatorade is made by the University of Florida. It's for football, jack you up, bring you down, jack you up, bring you down. And they go, what? And I said, yeah, golf's all like this, right? And they're like, so anyways, so golf has always been in your life, but where was the tipping point that you decided that you wanted to be working in the golf business and decided to go to Georgian? What was there sort of a tipping point, or did you always think you wanted to work in that way?
When I was in grade 10, I started taking business classes because I wanted to go through for golf. So I guess always. Yeah, I just didn't know what avenue of the golf industry I would go, because at that time when I was going through at Georgian, you had to have a head pro at your golf course to kind of like sign off on you being able to try for your pro status, and we didn't have one. And then when about a couple years after I graduated, Steve Carroll, he was in charge of the PGA, and he changed that ruling that you just had to have a mentor. And so Joey Rettinger from King Carden, he signed off on me because he taught me when I was a junior as well. And so that was when it kind of changed for me, because now I knew it could happen. And then as soon as I got my pro status, it was honestly a dream come true, because it was like everything I'd worked for the last few years. And I just felt like it was going to open so many more doors for me. And and my mom always said that I was going to be a teacher. She just never knew that it was going to be like a golf teacher. She just knew that I needed to be a teacher. And so when she told me that, I was like, okay, well, like, I want to be a golf pro. And she's like, all right, let's do it.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I think that's amazing that you kind of knew from an early stage and early on that you wanted to get into this business. I mean, having your dad as a GM and superintendent, I mean, I've always thought that superintendents make pretty good general managers, because their budgeting is pretty good. I mean, they get an envelope of money, and they have to make it stretch, and they have to make it really last and figure that out. So, I mean, you know what? I think that's great that you were able to be sort of inspired. I mean, you've been around it your whole life, but to see how this is a logical, stepping point. Mm-hmm. So did you know that when did you realize that your grandparents were such unbelievable people in the game of golf up in your area?
Always.
Always? Why so?
Yeah, I always knew that. Well, I just always knew that they were like my Gravett grandparents.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're
I
married.
always knew that, right? Because yes. Okay. So they were sports everything. Like everything was sports. So if they could get us, like I remember for Christmas one year, my grandpa Boom, he bought us this hockey net because I played like AA hockey growing up, and they spent a lot of money on it. My parents were so upset because like it was like a steal and it was like top of the line and like it was spectacular. And I think that would be probably my earliest memory of just knowing that like they would have done whatever it took for us to play whatever sports we wanted to.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, wow. So they're just wonderful people. And like my grandma, she would hitchhike to baseball, like, and oh yeah, like she would do whatever it took to get to sports. So I knew that like if I wanted to play sports, that they would make that happen.
Well, you played hockey, you played golf. Did you play any other thing that took up a lot of your time?
I played field hockey in high school, which took up a lot of time. It's pretty much like the perfect compromise between my two favorite sports. And so I never even played it before. And I moved in grade 10, which is like not the most ideal age to move. And I remember it was like day 3 of being in grade 10. And these 2 girls came up to me and they kind of cornered me by my locker. And I was like, oh, now what? And they're like, hey, are you that hockey and that golfer? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, come with us. And I'm like, okay. So I followed them. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I getting in a fight on day 3? And so I'm like, okay. So I follow them into the classroom and it's all these girls and they're like, I found her. I'm like, who are you talking to? And they're like, this is the golfer. And so that's how I played field hockey. They were like, okay, you're going to play field hockey. And I was like, okay. And it's like some of my best memories in high school.
Field hockey has to be the combination between like golf and hockey, like you said, but there's one element that you're leaving out. And I'm sure, like, don't let the smile deceive you folks. I'm sure on the field, she was a little bit rougher than she is on the golf course, maybe even more so than on the ice. Because you guys, you field hockey women, you don't play nice, let me tell you. You get a little bit rough and a little tumble. It's almost like rugby version, but with sticks. What is up with the aggression?
Yeah.
Why?
Honestly, like, my mom would come and watch me and she'd be like, I don't understand the rules. And she's like, what are the rules? I'm like, they just blow the whistle every 5 seconds. And she's like, and it's so aggressive. She's like, because I played pretty aggressively as a hockey player. And so she was like, it's like you've taken your skates away and like you're out there. But she's like, everybody's like you. Like, you're not like the only one. I'm like, I know. She's like, it's crazy. I'm like, yep. Crazy awesome.
Crazy awesome. Crazy awesome. Crazy. Everybody, I was like, never mind.
Crazy. It's very crazy.
So, listen, one of the things that is just evident, and it's if you go on any of your social media, your smile is lighting up every single frame. I mean, you have a smile that is infectious. And it's when I was talking to my cousin Ann, she goes, I don't think I've met anybody that smiles more than her. And it's a really interesting point. My friend Ryan Starr, who did your IB, he said the same thing. He says, she's a great girl. My gosh, her smile was just amazing in class, right? So your smile is what you're known for. And what's really interesting, though, you've written a little book. You wrote a book.
Yes.
You wrote a book on golf. Where did you get the idea for this? Because tell us a little bit about it, because it's a great little book to help people on their golf. I mean, I don't know what else you do, kid, but man, this stuff is pretty awesome.
Thank you. Well, a lot of my students are like, I need a voice recording of you for when I go out on the golf course. I need to take you with me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, how can I make that happen? And then I came up with the idea of putting a book together. And then, so I did one a couple years ago. And that one had like some rules and some everything. And so that one went over really well. And I was like, okay, let's do a new one. So I did one in the fall, and I wanted something that like is quick reference. It's short and sweet. It gets right to the point, and it allows golfers like a 2-second look at it when they're out playing. And they're like, oh yeah, so like it has a page on uneven lie. So what do I do with an uneven lie? Okay, downhill lie. What I do with my shoulders, what I do with my feet, ball position, check, boom. It has putting drills so that they're practicing with a purpose. It has at-home drills. It has a proper warm-up. It has swing thoughts. It has pre-shot routine and the importance of it. And I put mine on it by the second, so it's only 20 seconds is my entire pre-shot routine. And so to show people that it needs to be short and sweet. Stop standing over the ball. It has some mental game things. It has some what else does it have? Oh, alignment tips and some drills and stuff like that. So it's basically like it can take you from practice to play and in between. And I brought, and what's great about it is I can bring it to Turks with me, and I was able to sell it to my students down there. And like, they were like blown away. They're like, oh my God, like this is my nighttime reading. I read it before I go to bed. I read it when I'm eating breakfast. I read it before I come to golf so that I have you in my head. And like a couple of them were like, check the book when they were out playing, because they weren't sure what to do in a situation. And so they flipped to the page, and then they were able to like figure out what they needed to do. And I just wanted it to be short and sweet, but effective, that people could get back on track quicker, because I know what it's like to have a blow up hole. I know what it's like to have a bad shot, but being able to make the next one count is what's most important. And so this book sort of does that for you, gets you back on track quicker.
Fantastic. I mean, can I get a copy, please? But it's, yeah, good. You know, it's stuff like this that differentiates you from other assistant pros that I've seen and I've met. And I mean, one of the things is you have a sense of purpose, and you always seem to be a bit driven. Was that bestowed on you by someone as a role model to keep working at it? Are there people that you look up to that you kind of admire, that have been your role models to help you get to where you are? Or is this just who you are?
Oh, it's definitely my mom. She has always told me that I can do anything that I want to. And she has like maybe a little bit of a perfectionist. I have a little bit of that because of her. But she has pushed me to be the best version of myself and to give it my all the time. And she's constantly there to, I'll be emailing her, or like sometimes like when I'm in Turks, I'll be like, I have this idea. And she's like, okay, Ashley, just put it away tonight. Like it doesn't have to be solved tonight. And so, but she's like, which I like to do things like get it done. But she is like the perfect person to ask questions, and she always gives me her honest feedback, but like in the nicest way possible. And we always are able to solve problems together. And she's like, yeah, she's my favorite person. She just really understands the importance and like what my mission is and how I want to help as many golfers as I can. And I just want people playing golf and playing longer, because I know that in turn that helps every single golf course. Like I just like in Turks, I just like, because I'm teaching people from all over the world, and I just love that I'm able to give them a little bit of hope, because if you give them some hope, then they'll want to keep playing. And you give them some drills to practice, then all of a sudden their practice is focused, and then that transfers better to the course. And she's always like reading over my what I want for my handouts for my clinics and stuff, and telling me to simplify it or add this, or you talked about this last week, why don't you add that? And she really helps me kind of stay on track, but also shoot for the stars.
So she is your rock, your cornerstone, your confidant, your best buddy. She is who gets you where you are with your business, and really keeps you on the straight and narrow. And we all, you know, have someone like that that's helped us get to where we are. And it's so nice to hear that story. I mean, you know what? My mom was a very big push in my life. I lost her early in when I was 21, but at the same time, she was always the biggest fan of mine, right? She was always telling me I couldn't do anything. You know, there's nothing I could do. Same as you. You know, I spoke about speaking with both Susie Whaley, and I've also had Kevin Thistle on here. And, you know, they're the two leaders of our PGA, of the PGAs in North America, right? And amazing leaders, smart. I mean, they're so focused on how their members are doing, and they're really focused on making sure that their members are taken care of. And it's really, really crucial that you see that leadership at this time, not unlike how you have shown a tremendous amount of leadership for your membership and care by thinking about them and helping them stay active, stay busy during this crazy time. However, what message can you pass on to some young aspiring professionals who may want to get to where you're going to be now, and how can you instill some great wisdom to them to keep on going when the times are a little bit kind of crazy?
Well, like times like we're in right now, with the COVID, I would say my biggest advice is that remember that golf is the most participated sport in the country. It's the most participated for a reason, and it's only going to get bigger if this is the only sport that people are going to be able to play. And to be mindful of how your niche and what you want to teach. Like if you want to teach technical, but be upfront about it to people, and don't apologize for it, because that's what makes you unique.
That's great advice. I mean, a lot of times people think they have to be somebody that they're not, and being true to yourself and who you are. And it may take a little bit of them to figure it out. I mean, hey, listen, I'll even take a spot and say, I didn't realize that I should have been coaching golf till I was 40. And it's, you know, I went through the whole GM role and all that stuff, and it took getting fired for me to figure out that this is what I should be doing. And it's been a really great ride. You know, understanding where you're going to be in, you know, 5 years, 10 years is sometimes often a crystal ball, and it's like you're trying to predict the future. But more importantly, you, little Miss Sparkplug, I'd love to know what the 3 to 5, maybe even the 5 to 10 year plan is for Ashley Gravett, because you are just a bundle of energy and an absolute budding rock star. And I'm so pumped that you came on here tonight, because I want to hear more about what you're going to do to help change golf so people can play it for years and years and years.
Okay, so just going off of what you just said, I want my Fit for Golf program to be kind of worldwide, and I want to educate people on the importance of being fit for golf. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a model fit. It just means that you have to be able to play around a golf without injury, without pain, and to build up your stamina so that you can play the best that you can and utilize your lower body. Like everybody, especially women, are so armed. And I just want to educate you on using the ground force and using that to your power. And I would love to see, Jillian and I had actually talked about this year, but of course, obviously, everything's up for takes. But we were thinking about doing going into golf courses and doing a 2-hour assessment and like a warm up and a video or a workout or whatever, and talking about the importance of golf and like go through like 5 exercises and how it actually helps your golf game. And then they would get our 6-week program to all be done at home on YouTube and emailed out and everything like that, and be able to travel all over Ontario to teach that to people and to give them a sense of hope and and a chance to play their best by knowing these sort of things. And I also kind of talked to Leslie, who you had on last week, back at the NGCA show in October, and I would love to get a program put together for anybody who's in university or college who takes a business course. That part of that is to take golf, and whether it's a day session or a couple, like every Monday for a month or something in the season, and it's performed by PGAs all over Ontario. They get contacted with the closest ones to their university, but I want to come up with a program for them, because when I was standing in my marketing class, way too many years ago now, the professor says
2007. Sorry.
Yeah. You do your research. The professor said, if you are a golfer in this room, please stand up. And there was 5 of us out of 100 kids. And he said, all right, you guys all get A's. And we were like, that's what I strive for, but like, why? And he's like, because so much golf business is done on the golf course. And I thought that was brilliant because so many of my friends are now getting into jobs or roles. My sister's best friend actually came to me for lessons last year. She's worked her way up at Hershey, and now she's a VP, and she needed to go on the golf course. So she came down to me to get some lessons because she knew that she's comfortable with me. I would teach her what she needed to know. I told her when to network, when to stop networking. Like, it's as simple as waiting till hole 4 to start talking about work. And she's like, why? I'm like, because you got to get people warmed up. You got to give people a chance to find out how they react if they have a bad shot, when to know when to kind of push the bear or ask the questions, or when to kind of pull back, and to get yourself out of the nerves of playing year round with them. I said, and everything has to be done by hole 14. She's like, why hole 14? I'm like, because that's when 90% of golfers hit a wall and they're tired and they stop listening and they just want golf to be finished. So I said, you got to get your work in by then. You got to get your questions. You got to get all your stuff that you want to get done by hole 14 or 15. Then enjoy the last few holes. And then by the time you go to have a drink on the patio, they're actually wanting to talk about business again because you've given them a chance to kind of break and finish strong in their round. And she was like, oh my God, Ashley, like, we got to do something with this. And I was like, okay. And so I talked to Leslie and I talked to Melanie from the PGA in October, and I was like, how do we do this? And so I'm hopefully going to get together with them and figure out something, because I think it's very valuable that people have a chance to try it in a group setting, because we all know that women do things better when they're in groups. So if you split them up into girls and boys, if you need to, when they're in university, and you take them out to the golf course, you give them full swing, chipping and putting, give them the basics. And whether we give them a little handout that goes with them, that's across the country, it's all the same, so that they have something that when somebody asks them to play, then they've at least been to a golf course, they've held a golf club, they know the basics instead of saying no, because way too often women are saying no in the workplace to going to golf things because they're so worried, and then they're stuck there working while everybody else is out having fun golfing. So that's what I want.
This, like me, of all people, I'm speechless. That is inspiring. I cannot believe, well, that is an absolute, that whole routine about your friend in hole 4, hole 14. I mean, my gosh, that is just liquid gold right there, girl. You need to package that up and sell it. I am just amazed. I mean, other than hearing my friend Lindsay Knowlton, who you mentioned earlier, talk about her one lady that came on her trip who had never touched a golf club before, and so they started driving the golf cart, and then they got her to putt, and then they got her to chip, and then they got her to swing, and you know, the whole trip was a bonus, right? But I mean, think about all the times that women, you know, executives get asked to go play. No, it's okay, I don't play, or whatever. It's an amazing thing. I applaud you, young lady. You are, I mean, it's so cool. You know, I asked you to come on because you and I have conversed a little bit since I started doing these, and it's been great to kind of get to know you a little bit. This was a joy. You have so many amazing ideas, not to mention energy that I could surpass mine, which is very odd if you ask anybody. You are, I mean, like I said, the smile lights up the room. You are an inspiration to young women all over the place. I really do appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing your story, sharing a little bit your passion, a lot of exactly what drives you and helps you get to where you are. Everybody, you need to follow this young lady on Instagram. Find her at Ash Grav, right? Is that what it's, Ash Grav on Instagram?
Yeah, AshGrav10, yep.
AshGrav10 on Instagram.
I do all the social media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I would like to add one thing, Doug.
Sure.
Sorry, if I may. Okay, so you mentioned about the beginner golfer. Robin Doig from Seaforth and Brittany Nye from White Squirrel and I are putting together a thing for Women's Golf Day that was supposed to be on June 2nd. And we're coming together and putting together a 5-week video via Facebook. And we're basically getting a woman golfer from her couch to the course. And we're going to go over the dress code, what you need in your pocket, how to put your clubs on a golf cart, what a pull cart is, how to book a tee time. And so we're starting filming for it tomorrow, but I just wanted to put it out there that we're putting together a program so that if other golf courses are looking for something and they want to share it to their membership or the wives of the husbands that are playing. Like it's all done from the comfort of your home. We're giving you putting drills at home and chipping drills at home so that you can build your confidence up. And we're going to show you how to navigate a hole. We're going to do like have Robin and Brittany play a hole, and I'm going to do a voiceover of where to stand and what to do and go over some etiquette like that. Just because women are so timid to get out to the golf course, and we've got to find a way to give them some confidence. And if they can watch that at home when they're doing the dishes or their kids went to bed, and they're like, okay, this doesn't seem so scary, or we've answered enough of their questions that they're like, okay, I actually want to try it, because this is the year. If this COVID has taught us anything, is that when we get open, we are going to be busy. Golf is safe. So we're going to have a lot more people out there, and we just want to give people the chance to come out and see success so that they return.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Look for her Facebook stuff. It's going to be coming down the pipe. It sounds like, I mean, my gosh, it's going to be absolutely a game changer for everybody. Get you off your couch, get you on the course, step by step. I mean, holy smokes. Young lady, thank you very much for coming out here tonight and joining me. I mean, I have not had to talk so little in any other of my chats. You did all that for me. I thank you for that. It was extremely entertaining. I tell you right now, everybody go follow this young lady. She is the future of what golf should be. A lot of fun, a lot of smiles, by all means, a ton of energy. So I'm just going to kill this Facebook feed here, and don't go away.
Okay.
I'm just stopping the recording.